Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to tackle CYBL, and honestly, the analysis we're looking at is kind of wild.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's from this guy who basically sat out the whole CYBL craze recently, which I think gives us a super interesting perspective.
I see what you mean. Someone looking from the outside in.
Exactly. Like, how do we avoid being the ones left holding the bag when the music stops, you know?
Right, right. Got to protect ourselves out here.
So this analyst, they're pretty convinced this whole CYBL thing is, well, a classic pump and dump scheme. What makes them so sure?
Well, they point to a few things. Like, first off, there's been a ton of hype around CYBL lately, but it feels kind of artificial, you know?
Okay, yeah, I've noticed that too. It's everywhere.
Right. And the analyst specifically calls out these Discord and Telegram groups, like Moon Market. You familiar with that one?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Isn't that one of those?
Oh, yeah. It's notorious for pumping up stocks and then dumping them on unsuspecting investors.
So they think that's what's happening here with CYBL.
Pretty much. And they even highlight specific posts and comments in these groups. Like, they actually trace the timeline of the posts to show how they line up with the price spikes.
Wow. So it's not just like a hunch. They have some receipts.
Oh, yeah, they did their homework.
Okay, that's kind of scary, to be honest. But here's where I get a little confused. The analyst also acknowledges that CYBL as a company, like their actual business, isn't doing that bad. Their performance has been improving, right?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. And it's where this idea of the company isn't the stock and the stock isn't the company comes in.
Ooh, that's a good one. Break that down for us. What does that even mean?
Basically, a company can be doing well, showing positive growth, but that doesn't always translate directly to the stock price,
Hmm.
especially in the world of penny stocks.
Yeah, penny stocks are a whole different beast.
Right. There's so much speculation and manipulation that the price can get totally detached from the company's actual performance.
So even though CYBL might be improving as a business, it doesn't mean it's immune to these pump and dump schemes.
Exactly. They can still be targeted and manipulated.
Gotcha. So it's almost like these groups are trying to exploit that gap between company performance and stock price.
You got it. They prey on those who don't understand the difference.
Okay, so pump and dump, that's scary stuff. But let's shift gears for a sec and talk about this analyst's actual approach to buying CYBL, because it's kind of not what I expected.
Oh, you mean how they're not jumping in head first?
Yeah, exactly. They seem super chill about it.
That's one way to put it. They're all about patience and strategic buying, specifically this idea of averaging down, which basically means buying in small chunks as the price drops, rather than going all in at once.
So instead of trying to time the market perfectly, they're spreading out their risk.
You got it. And it ties into their whole philosophy of waiting for the hype to die down before making any big moves.
Which makes sense. Let the dust settle, see what's really going on.
Right. And they have a term for this waiting period, barcoding.
Hmm.
It's when the stock is basically flatlining, trading sideways with super low volume.
Barcoding, huh? I like that. So basically, we're looking for a super boring chart.
Pretty much. Not very exciting. But the analyst thinks it's the best time to accumulate shares at a discount.
It's so counterintuitive to how we usually think about investing. It's all FOMO, 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 you know. But this analyst is like, nah, chill out, let's be strategic.
It definitely requires a different mindset. It's about discipline and thinking long term.
Yeah, it's like playing the long game, outsmarting the people who are just chasing quick profits.
Exactly. The analyst believes it can be way more rewarding in the end.
I'm starting to see the appeal. If you can buy in low after the hype dies down, you're in a much better position.
Right. And then you're potentially buying from those who panicked and sold low.
Okay, I'm kind of digging this whole barcode thing, but how do you even know when a stock is barcoding? Like, what are the specific signs to look for?
Yeah, good question. It's not always super obvious, but the analyst does give a few more pointers that might help. So they say to focus on two main things: volume and how the price is moving, the price action. First, you want to see the trading volume drop significantly.
Right, because those pump and dump groups, they artificially inflate the volume, right? To make it look like everyone's buying.
Exactly. It's all about creating that illusion of
Yeah.
like a stampede.
Get in now before you miss out.
Yeah, exactly. So as the hype dies down and those groups start selling off, the volume naturally drops.
So low volume in this case is actually a good thing. It means the manipulators are clearing out.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. The artificial demand is fading, so what's left is the real interest in the stock.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about price action? What should we be watching for there?
The analyst says look for the stock to start trading sideways. Not much fluctuation, just stuck in a tight range.
So literally like a flat line on the chart, like a barcode.
Yeah, that's the idea. And this can go on for a while, like days, weeks, even months. It's
Yeah.
not going to be exciting to watch.
But it's a sign that the market is kind of like catching its breath.
Exactly. Digesting the news, waiting for the next big thing.
Okay, so low volume sideways trading, that's our barcode signal. Got it. But, waiting around for a stock to barcode, that seems like it could take forever.
Yeah, it could.
Aren't we risking missing out on other opportunities while we're just like sitting here twiddling our thumbs?
I mean, that's a fair point. And the analyst acknowledges that patience can be tough,
Mm.
especially when the market is moving fast.
Right. Everything's so fast-paced these days.
But their whole thing is that this approach, it's not about timing the market perfectly. It's more about minimizing risk and maximizing your potential reward, right?
Right. So being okay with maybe missing some gains, but also avoiding those big losses.
Right. And this strategy, it's not for every stock or every situation. The analyst is really focusing on penny stocks that have been like really manipulated, like CYBL.
Okay, that makes sense. Targeted approach for a specific situation. I'm starting to see the wisdom in this whole barcode thing. But you know what else really stood out to me in this analysis? The emphasis on communication.
Oh, yeah. The analyst talks about how a company's communication can actually impact its stock performance.
Yeah, and they use that great example with AITX, right? That company that's known for being really good at communicating with investors.
Exactly. And the analyst points out that AITX's stock, it's been much more stable, more predictable, likely because of that communication.
So just being open and clear with investors can help stabilize a stock? Huh, I always thought it was all about the numbers.
The numbers are definitely huge, but the analyst is highlighting, like, the human factor. When a company's transparent, it builds trust.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not hiding anything. We're keeping you in the loop.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in how investors react, how they perceive the company.
So in the case of CYBL, the analyst is saying their lack of communication is a red flag.
It's definitely something to think about. They see it as a potential indicator of risk.
Like, if they're not willing to talk about what's going on, what are they hiding?
Right. Transparency is key, especially in a market as volatile as penny stocks.
Okay, so we've got this roadmap for dealing with CYBL or any stock that's been pumped and dumped. We've got the barcode strategy, the focus on communication, and that reminder to be careful with those hype machines on Discord and Telegram. Anything else from this analysis? Anything that surprised you?
There is one more thing. The analyst calls it the forgotten factor, something a lot of investors miss, but it's super important when you're analyzing a stock.
Oh, I like that. A forgotten factor. Lay it on us. What are we missing?
Well, it's actually pretty simple, but people forget about it all the time. It's the overall market sentiment.
Ah, okay.
The analyst makes this point that even if a stock like CYBL, it ticks all the boxes that's barcoding, the company starts communicating better, the hype dies down, it can still get hit if the whole market takes a downturn.
So even if things are looking good for CYBL specifically, a bad market could still drag it down.
Yeah. And I think that's easy to forget, especially when you're new to investing.
Right. You get so focused on the one stock, you forget to zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Exactly.
It's like checking the weather before you go hiking. You might have all the best gear, the perfect trail map, but if a storm rolls in...
Oh, yeah, your plan's a coast.
This deep dive has been seriously eye-opening. I feel like we've gone way beyond just charts and numbers,
Me too. It really shows how important it is to think critically about investing. Don't just follow the hype. Do your own research.
And question everything. Don't take anything at face value.
Exactly. Be skeptical, but also be optimistic. There are opportunities out there, but you got to be smart about it.
Speaking of being smart, let's go back to something you said earlier. You mentioned this barcode strategy. It's not for every stock or every situation.
Right.
So for our listeners who are thinking, okay, this all sounds good, but how do I know if this is right for me? What would you tell them?
Honestly, there's no one right answer when it comes to investing. What we've done today is give you a framework for this specific situation, a penny stock that's been heavily manipulated.
Right. That's super important to remember.
So whether you use this for CYBL or any other stock, it's ultimately up to you.
It's got to fit with your own risk tolerance, your goals, how much you know about the company, and of course, what the overall market's doing.
Yeah, all those factors. And don't be afraid to get more information, different perspectives. Read analyst reports, listen to other podcasts, talk to a financial advisor if you need to.
The more you know, the better decisions you can make, right?
Absolutely.
This has been an amazing deep dive, I gotta say. I'm feeling a lot more confident about navigating this whole penny stock world now.
Me too. It's a wild world out there.
But remember, everyone, learning never stops. Keep asking questions, challenge those assumptions, and look for different perspectives.
That's the key. Keep learning and keep that critical thinking cap on.
Until next time, happy investing, everyone.